Most inverters don't fail dramatically. No smoke, no pop, no obvious moment of death. They just quietly throttle output on a hot afternoon, restart without warning, then degrade across months until your system is running at 60% of rated capacity and nobody knows why. The spec sheet never shows you that. It shows peak wattage. Peak wattage is the bait. The real test is what happens at sustained load in a warm enclosure over 3 summers. That is where capacitors age out of tolerance, where undersized fans cavitate and stop, where thermal paste dries and board temperatures climb past the threshold the manufacturer never published. That process is called cooking, and it is the actual cause behind the majority of premature inverter replacements. 4 brands pass that test. Everything else fails it as a category, not always immediately, but reliably enough to reject. So what does it actually mean to pass that test? Before any brand gets named, the standard has to be defined. Brochure peak watts measure nothing useful. The number that matters is sustained output at 40 degrees Celsius ambient, inside a sealed garage, an RV compartment, or a dusty shed with no cross-ventilation. Most inverters are rated at 25 degrees. That 15-degree gap is not a footnote. For electrolytic capacitors, every 10 degrees of additional heat roughly cuts rated lifespan in half. Run at 40 instead of 25, and you are not getting a minor efficiency penalty. You are cutting component life by more than half before the first year ends. Thermal stress is the mechanism behind almost every slow failure story. Capacitors drift out of tolerance. Fans undersized for continuous duty cavitate and stall. Power semiconductors cycle through temperature swings that fatigue solder joints. Relays stick. The damage is cumulative and invisible until output is already gone. So the criteria are specific. Cooling architecture that handles real ambient conditions. Derating behavior that protects the unit instead of hiding the stress. Capacitor and board quality that survives daily battery cycling across multiple summers. A service network that actually answers. Warranty execution that does not require a lawyer. Field repairability when something eventually does wear out. App dashboards and high MPPT counts only matter after the unit proves it can survive the heat. Aesthetics are irrelevant. Longevity is the only metric on this shortlist. Most eliminated brands fail the same way. The marketing claims peak watts at 25 degrees in a climate-controlled lab. The actual hardware ships with a heat sink roughly half the surface area required to sustain that output in real ambient conditions. The board layout crowds high heat components against capacitors that already have a shortened lifespan under any thermal stress. Active cooling relies on a single small fan running at continuous duty. And when that fan degrades, around year 2 or 3 in most field reports, it becomes the one component between the inverter and a thermal shutdown cascade. Here is the specific mechanism that exposes undersized designs. It is called thermal derating. When internal temperatures climb past a threshold, the inverter automatically cuts output to protect itself. That sounds responsible until you realize the cut happens at exactly the moment demand is highest. A summer afternoon, full air conditioning load, battery cycling hard. The inverter is not failing visibly. It is just quietly delivering 60 or 70% of what the homeowner paid for during the hours that matter most. Support compounds the problem. Warranty terms on paper can look reasonable, but if replacement capacitor boards require a 6-week international shipping order, if firmware patches for known failure modes are abandoned after 18 months, and if no local technician carries the diagnostic tools for that platform, the warranty is effectively decorative. The brands on this shortlist cleared those specific bars, not because they are flawless, but because their engineering margins, parts availability, and service depth mean problems get resolved before they become permanent losses. The first brand on this list survives for a structural reason, not a marketing one. Enphase uses microinverters, one small inverter per panel, mounted directly on the roof. That single architectural choice changes the failure math completely. With a central string inverter, one thermal failure kills the whole array. With Enphase, one failed unit drops one panel. The other 23 keep producing. That is not a minor distinction. That is the difference between losing 100% of your output on a July afternoon and losing 4%. The heat problem does not disappear. Roof-mounted electronics face ambient temperatures that can hit 70 to 80 degrees Celsius on a dark roof in summer. Enphase survives that environment not because the hardware runs cool, but because the degradation is distributed. One unit struggling does not cascade into a system-wide shutdown. The system just quietly flags that unit in the monitoring dashboard, and you schedule a replacement on your own timeline instead of treating it like an emergency. That panel-level monitoring is the second structural advantage. You can see exactly which unit is underperforming, when it started, and by how much. That is forensic visibility no string inverter can match without expensive add-ons. Enphase also carries one of the longest warranty commitments in the residential segment, 25 years on the IQ series, and replacement units are stocked domestically, not on a 6-week overseas shipping delay. The honest limitation: this is a grid-tied suburban solution. For off-grid cabins, RV systems, or installations where serious whole-home battery backup is the priority, Enphase is not the sharpest fit. But for a complex rooftop with shading, multiple planes, and a homeowner who wants uptime visibility, it is the most defensible architecture available. Enphase solves the heat problem by distributing it. Fronius solves it differently, by actively managing it. Fronius builds string inverters with fan-based active cooling. That gets criticized in some corners of the installer community, and the criticism misses the point entirely. A sealed unit with no airflow does not run cooler. It just hides the heat until the capacitors degrade silently and the unit dies 3 years before anyone expected it to. A fan-cooled design means the thermal load is being handled, not ignored. The efficiency numbers back this up. Fronius units are commonly rated above 98% conversion efficiency, which means less energy is lost as heat in the first place, and what heat does build up is actively expelled. That combination extends the service life of the internal components. Independent installers regularly report Fronius units running reliably for 10 to 15 years with no significant intervention. The practical caveat is real. Fans can fault. Fronius units will flag those events through onboard diagnostics rather than producing a mystery shutdown with no error code. That is the correct failure mode. A visible problem you can service is categorically better than a silent problem you cannot detect until output has already dropped for 6 months. Fronius also maintains a functioning service network and replacement parts availability in most markets, which matters more than most buyers realize at the point of purchase. The buyer fit is straightforward. Grid-tied residential or light commercial installation, homeowner or installer who expects to be in the same building for a decade, and a preference for a proven conventional architecture over distributed systems. That is Fronius territory, and it holds it well. Both Fronius and Enphase are built around grid-tied residential power. Victron is built around something different entirely. Victron is a Dutch company, and its entire product line is designed for systems where the grid is either absent, unreliable, or optional. Think RVs, boats, marine installations, off-grid cabins, vans, and mobile power setups. The reason it belongs on this list is the same reason it survives where other brands fail. It does not force one unit to do everything. Victron builds modular components. Separate inverter chargers, separate MPPT charge controllers, separate battery monitors, separate communication modules. Each unit handles one defined job with thermal headroom left over. That architecture means no single box is running at its thermal ceiling while simultaneously managing charging, inversion, and load balancing. You distribute the heat load by distributing the work. The monitoring is transparent in ways that matter. Victron's VRM portal gives you live data on every component, including state of charge trends, fault codes, temperature logs, and historical output curves. When something degrades, you see it before it becomes a failure. Here is the honest warning. Victron's modularity is only an advantage if the system design is competent. Undersized wiring, poor battery placement, inadequate ventilation, or wrong charge parameters all create heat problems that no brand label prevents. Victron gives you the tools to build it right. It does not prevent you from building it wrong. The buyer fit is specific. Serious DIY off-grid users, RV and marine owners, small installers who need serviceability and diagnostics, and anyone who values knowing exactly what their system is doing at any given moment. If that is you, Victron earns its place. Victron is modular and marine-ready. Schneider is something else entirely. It is a transformer-based, heavy iron workhorse built for the kind of loads that make lightweight hybrids flinch. The Connext XW Pro class does something most competitors refuse to do. It publishes output at temperature, rated at 6,800 watts at 25 degrees Celsius, dropping to roughly 6,000 watts at 40 degrees. That is an 800-watt penalty written directly into the datasheet, not discovered by a frustrated installer in August. That transparency alone separates Schneider from half the brands that quietly derate in summer and say nothing about it. The transformer-based design matters for specific loads. Pumps, motors, compressors, and any surge-heavy equipment need short overload capacity, not just peak wattage claims. Schneider delivers that without thermal shutdown the moment a well pump kicks on. Lightweight hybrids advertise large numbers, and then struggle when 3 loads stack simultaneously in a hot garage. Schneider does not have that problem because the architecture was not designed around looking good on a spec sheet. It was designed around sustained delivery under real conditions. The buyer fit is narrow and deliberate. Off-grid homes, farms, workshops, and serious whole home backup installations, where an installer needs rugged hardware and published service documentation. If your priority is a clean app interface, Schneider is not your brand. If your priority is knowing exactly what the unit will output when your well pump and HVAC run at the same time in a 95-degree equipment room, Schneider is the only answer on this list built specifically for that question. 4 brands. That is the entire shortlist. Enphase for distributed rooftop installations where one shaded panel or one failed unit cannot drag down the whole system. Fronius for premium string setups where efficiency curves and long-term serviceability justify the price gap. Victron for modular off-grid and mobile builds where reconfigurability is not optional. Schneider for heavy backup and off-grid loads where motors, pumps, and stack demands need sustained output and published thermal behavior. Every brand that did not make this list failed the same test. They could not prove sustained output, thermal design, real serviceability, or accessible support simultaneously. A wattage rating without those 4 things is not a specification. It is a heat test waiting to fail in August when you actually need the system to perform. Drop your climate zone, load profile, and installation type in the comments. The shortlist is a filter, and the right fit inside it depends on your specific conditions. If you found this useful, subscribe. More of these forensic breakdowns are coming.